Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We've got Biggie, we've got AJ, we've got Rudo coming to you live on a Thursday. Probably wrapping up our Central Division rankings, if that's what you want to call it. Talked a little bit about forward depth yesterday, but I want to get into the team's proper depth in the Central Division today. And, you know, who can absorb the injury bug that'll inevitably hit every team at some point the best, get into what high-end depth looks like, what teams are struggling with depth. We'll talk about it all. We'll get into it team by team a little bit. Before we do that, I did want to bring up a little bit of news. And mostly I'm just curious to see what you guys have answers to these questions. I asked on Twitter yesterday. I think we all agree Nathan MacKinnon is the best center in the Central Division, right? There's not really any argument there. If we're talking strictly the Central, whatever. Around the league, I don't care if you think McDavid's better or whatever, fine. Central Division, if MacKinnon is the best center in the division, who is the second best center in the Central?
Yeah,
who do I love? Well, who do I love the most? And it's a bad answer because he's not, but I love the guy, Ryan O'Reilly. But it's not the answer. I just wanted to throw the name in, you know what I mean? Like, I love him. That's it. I want to shed a tear, you know what I mean?
For what it's worth.
I'm going to surprise you with a word, with a name. And I truly believe, and I think he's going to show it this year. For me in the Central, Robert Thomas.
Yeah, I think that's my answer too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
I just like his two-way game a little bit more than Mark Scheifele's. Rupe Hintz, I think I would probably go Thomas, Rupe Hintz, and then Mark Scheifele. So I think that's. Yeah. And then you give it 2 years from now, Logan Cooley and Connor Bedard could be right there too.
Yep. All of Hintz, Scheifele, and Thomas were answers from people on Twitter. So those are definitely there. We also had a bunch of Kaprizovs, but he's not a center. So
yeah, he's not a. I think the wing conversation is interesting because I mean it's clearly Kaprizov and then Rantanen, but it's like you get beyond that and it's so many good players.
Probably, I mean, is Nate just in the conversation for third? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mikko.
I'd have Mikko at 2, and then after that.
Yeah.
I think 1 and 2 are pretty clear cut, I'd say. But
like Philip Forsberg, Marty Necas. Good conversation there about which one would be 3.
What do you do with Jason Robertson? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Robertson is obviously part of that too.
So an interesting question. We got a lot of varied answers from people. I was curious, and I think I actually agree. I talked about how I didn't love Robert Thomas on yesterday's show, and then went and looked it up, and it was like he might actually be the second best center in the Central.
Pretty good, man. He's pretty good.
So it is what it is. I'm wrong all the time, so put another one in that column for me. The other question I wanted to ask is a little bit more complicated. And I don't know that we'll have a clear answer to this, but obviously big news in the hockey, or not hockey world, but sports world yesterday. The LA Clippers suck at everything, always. Kawhi Leonard supposedly, got a bunch of kickbacks on the side of his contract. They circumvented the cap, all of that. Obviously not to that extent, but do we think things like this are happening in the NHL too? Are teams on the sly giving rewards to maybe circumvent cap or give extra bonuses to things like players. Go all the way back to Gretzky's contract back when the Oilers came over to the NHL, and it's like, oh, he's on a personal contract, so he doesn't have to go through the draft. It's fine. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always wonder about this. If I was, and I actually watched the entire hour and 20 minutes, I think it was, of the
Pablo,
the detailed expose on this, and it was fascinating and stupid, as these things always are, where you're just like, oh yeah, you're just KL2, really very subtle, guys. If I was Steve Ballmer level of rich, I'd be doing that stuff. 100% be doing it.
Well, here's my take on it. Did I see that in the minors? Maybe, you know what I mean, in those leagues with those salary caps, whatever, $500 a week, and whatever it was, and then juniors, whatever. You know, yeah, I've heard. You know, in the NHL, I gotta be honest with you, I haven't heard of anything. You know what I mean, honestly. And yeah, I'm just like you. I'm not bad, as you know. I don't follow the NBA and stuff like that. But I mean, those are some claims in there that, you know what I mean. It's like, really, you're just hanging out on the side of the road and you give the guy like millions of dollars cash and a brown bag, and like I don't know. I mean, that's kind of it makes you like, what? Really? Are you guys that dumb to do it that way? I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do it. But yeah, I've never seen, honestly, in the NHL anything like that. And maybe I'm naive, but I don't think so. You know, honestly, I don't think so.
All right.
Oh.
Had to. I was curious. I mean,
Yeah.
If
we don't have enough rich guys in the NHL owning teams. That's all it is. We need the like the rich of the rich, not like the he's got a yacht rich. Like, come on, that's boring rich. We need like Steve Ballmer's like the 6th richest guy on earth.
Yeah.
Does the NHL have a guy like that could just be like, I'll give you $28 million for nothing? I mean, because that's what happened here.
The Maple
Leafs
like grew a lot of money.
That's
frankly, I don't.
That's a lot of money.
I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like which are the richest owners in the NHL, and other than the Maple Leafs, I mean, I assume the Rangers owners are super rich too, just because they're in New York. Yeah,
Mr. Anshu. Yeah, Mr. Kroenke does pretty. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say Kroenke's got to be up there.
Who else in that league? I mean, I don't know. Like, God, that's way above my pay grade. I don't. I've never really.
I quickly Googled it, and it told me that it's the owner of the Jets.
Mark
I don't believe you.
Yeah. This is why AI is bad. I'm not actually going through this. It's just the first thing that popped up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't believe that, but it's fine. I don't know. You saw McKinnon had that quote the other day that he goes through 400 sticks a year or something. Maybe he gets some stick kickbacks or something. Not that
those guys are all sponsored, right? So like they've gotta like he's got to get a lot of
equipment to play your sport is a little bit different than $28 million or whatever for not showing up to a.
Somebody in my comment did the old Grok, how much money does this cost a year? And Grok responded with a roughly $150,000. So
sticks are expensive.
That's so much money on sticks.
But I'm not gonna lie to you, there is a disparity though around the league, absolutely, on equipment budget. Absolutely. I mean, there's teams that are really lenient, and there's some teams that are really tight. Because it's, as you see with McKinnon. I can tell you back then, the Avalanche with Sakic, Forsberg, Patty, there was some picky guys in there. You know what I mean? And it was expensive. I can tell you that compared to some of the guys. But my old man was always about like, hey, that's their tools, that's their, you know what I mean? Like you got to take the excuses away, and that's one of the reasons they did. But some teams, it's like pulling teeth to get a stick or an extra pair of skates, and it's hard. I'm being honest. Like it's not that easy, and it's not sponsored or not. Like the team pays for the gear. You know what I mean? Like the team pays for the gear.
Yeah.
So when you see a guy giving us sticks, after a game, it's funny. Like third star of the game, you see the guy like just kind of flipping a stick in the stands, and we're always cringing on the front office, not because we know how it works. We're not players anymore. And then you're looking, and you're like, "Oh God, it was $350," and you cringe. You're like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." And some teams really cringe.
The Avs can afford it because Kroenke Sports Group is the second richest ownership group in the NHL. The number one. I looked this up on the Forbes 2025 list, so this should be pretty accurate. The Anaheim Ducks owner, who I've never heard of.
Interesting. Well, now guess that.
Yeah,
Mr.
his
Samuel?
source of wealth is semiconductors. Yep, Mr.
Okay,
Semiconductor.
well, that makes sense for Anaheim. All right, adds up.
Yeah.
Adds up.
He's the ninth richest guy in the ninth richest sports ownership group owner. Stan Kroenke is number 11. Phil Anschutz is 12. And then the owner of the Sharks, Hasso Plattner and family, is 15th. So I take it back. There are some pretty rich dudes out there.
Yeah, there's some real dudes there. Yeah.
Yep. There is. I don't know what else. I guess the Avs saved a lot on their stick budget by trading Mikko. I guess that's what I have to say. That dude would snap 15 sticks a year just because he was mad. So,
but it's not just that. Some guys like they'll get 2-3 dozen sticks shipped in, and then I don't remember who was infamous for that back then, and then out of the 36 sticks, they would be like keeping 5 or 6. Oh, send those back. It's like, what, buddy? Just take your stick and go shoot. You know what I mean? Like, I was like one of those guys, like, whatever. I always use one pair of skates. Mark Messier used a brand new pair of skates every game. Unheard of. You know what I mean?
That's
and you're
crazy.
like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But get away from me. I use my own skates all year long. I'm good. I don't want new ones. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy. Everybody's different, but I do believe it's something you acquire over the years, and you become real picky. And Fopa was really tough with his gear too, and his blades and his sharpening and sticks, and it's like, man. But again, when you're the best in the world, it's like, why you argue? Oh, no problem. What do you want? You know what I mean? So when you're a guy like me, it's like, buddy, take what we give you and shush. I get it.
I'm asking because I genuinely can't remember. Who's the closest to a max contract we've ever seen in the NHL?
Ovi.
Is it Ovi? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. He
Obviously,
got like an insane percentage that was totally out of whack with the salary cap.
Yeah, it was like
then,
it was like 15 or 16%, right? It was like crazy.
I think
he was his own age.
Yeah. Yeah. It was way higher than Crosby's percentage. Like it blew everybody else out of the water. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, there were crazy contracts before the salary cap too, but that was a little bit different. So.
Yeah, I mean the Sakic contract, the poison pill deal it can't exist in today's cap world.
No.
That kind of structure you're not allowed to do that.
It's what you can't move more than like 30% year over year or something like that in the
whatever
value.
the number is.
Yeah,
it changed again in the most recent CBA.
Yeah, they reduced it even more. Yeah,
I was like, I'm not keeping up with this. This is whatever.
You can't just here's $10 million and here's one.
And it got to be so complicated too. And then teams started doing that, like Smoke. That was the old equipment guy forever with the Avs. And then Pierre put him in the office like a 9-to-5 job, so to speak. You know what I mean? Where you're dealing with all the orders and all the guys. And then the equipment guys downstairs deal with day-to-day stuff. So a lot of teams have that now. That formula, because it gets to be so freaking crazy. Like it's nuts. And if you're not on top of it, your budget is erupting. It is.
Just salary cap only applies to players. Coaching in front office, you can spend as much money as you want.
Ovechkin's 13-year deal was 16.82% of the cap.
That's so high.
In 2008.
Yeah.
So $9.5 million in 2008. Think of all the distance that the cap has had to grow over the years. That dude And he did well for himself.
When you're the best goal scorer, you get the best money. I guess that's the rules.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I guess it is time to get into our actual topic of the day, but we do have to pay a few bills before we do that. So let's make sure we jump in and do our jobs here, as we are brought to you by the folks over at Monarch Money. Look, finances can always be a bit tough to deal with, especially if you're a little bit lost with them, and Monarch Money keeps that from happening. You can feel organized and confident in your finances when it comes to Monarch Money. It is an all-in-one personal tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface. Laptop, phone, computer, you name it. You can pull up Monarch Money just about anywhere. And right now, for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off their first year. So make sure you're jumping in with Monarch Money. They were named the best budgeting app of 2025 by Wall Street. They're loved by pretty much everybody. Forbes named it the best app for couples. CNBC named it the top finance tech company in the world. It's a great app. I don't know what else to tell you, or unless you just don't care about money. But if you care about money at all, you should go check out Monarch Money. It's one of the best ways to look at not just your actual dollars, but your accounts. You can look at your investments. You can look across the board and know exactly where you stand when it comes to Monarch. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use that DNVR code over at monarchmoney.com today in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR. And once you're taking care of your finances, maybe you got a little bit of extra spending cash to hit up the Chicken and Pickle over in Thornton for a great food spot and also some great fun playing some pickleball. They offer indoor and outdoor pickleball courts as well as their delicious foods, even brunch on Sundays if that's your thing. They even have games at the bar, seasonal cocktails, you name it. It's a great place to just go hang out and have some fun. They even have stuff for kids if you have kids to come along. They've got TVs, so it's a great place to cheer for your teams and watch a game. It's like a backyard. You'll never want to leave, basically. So go check out some pickleball. Go check out some delicious chicken, both at the Chicken and Pickle. They serve up good times. Down in Thornton, there are also a couple of other locations here in Colorado, too. So check out the one nearest you. Make sure you get over to Chicken and Pickle, and you can go visit chickenandpickle.com to plan your visit today. Bring the whole family. It's a fun time. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Talking depth in the Central Division. Let's start here. Depth only matters if you have the high end, right? You can have all the depth in the world, but if you don't have the top of your lineup sorted, the depth almost doesn't matter because you're just going to get cooked on a night in and night out basis by the best players in the world. So I'm curious how you guys rank the importance of depth when it comes to the construction of an organization, because to me, it's one of those things that you can't win with it if you don't have the top stuff, but you can't win without it either. You're muted, E.
My bad. I muted myself. I'm going to jump in first. Before jumping in what I want to say here, somebody was asking about the CBA. You can go to NHLPA.com and the CBA, you can download it right there. Honestly, it's fascinating. Just read it. I mean, I've done it. You're on a plane, you're sitting on anywhere, and you just read it. I tell my son all the time, Max, just read it. Stop asking me questions. No, I'm not saying this to the chat. I'm saying to Max, because Max is always in my ear, like, how does this work? How does that work? I'm like, buddy, it's all in the CBA. Just read it. You know what I mean? So if you're bored, I think it's fascinating because I like hockey, but it's kind of fun to read. So, you know what I mean? And it makes you sound really intelligent.
If you're not a psychopath, go to Puckpedia and it will break down all the portions of the CBA for you instead of just reading the raw document. but you could do that.
Raw document tells you everything from per diem to rooms to everything. Everything's in there, so it's kind of fun. I mean, again, I'm crazy. But whatever.
It's always funny to me. Training camp starts to roll around and the team hasn't announced its schedule, and it's like, guys, it's the same time. Like, it's in the CBA. Like, yeah. It's like
everyone
X number of days or whatever. Like, everybody's allowed to start the same place. Like, it's not like, oh, well, this team's going to start on the September 9th, and this team's going to start on September 22nd. Like, it's all in the CBA. Like,
all there.
That stuff is all, it's all there. Like Eric, I have also read previous iterations of the CBA in the past because I was curious about things. You would not believe some of the minutia that's built into that. Where you're like,
there's some
I-
weird stuff.
I could never be a lawyer because this is incredibly boring. I'm sure they make great money for doing this, but I just want to know. Well,
Yeah.
I would love to know, like, way more interested in who thought of this. Who for the like the PA was like, oh, we need to go through every single second of a player's life and be like, okay, here's what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do, because player contracts now, you're not allowed to have like extreme sports as an off-season hobby,
Many
right? Like,
dudes broke their arms motorbiking and stuff.
right. And like skiing is like a huge no-no. Do not do that. So it's fascinating. That stuff is fascinating to me. We should have. I'm mad that we're thinking about this the week before they get back on the ice, because we should have had an agent come on and or like Bill Daly come on and be like, yeah, this
Can't
is a
do that.
process. We have to go through these conversations. We have to talk about how much money are the guys getting in a per diem. Yeah, you guys are making a couple $100,000 every year, but when you go on the road, we got to give you a little envelope of cash.
Yep.
Great.
And you
That
know
sounds
what?
awesome.
Back then was great because it was hard cash in an envelope. Mike Keane for the Avalanche back then, for example, was the one that was handing out the stuff, and now it's all like whatever through your bank, and like whatever, like automatic, and you don't see the hard cash. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, you got that ramp account. That's what that is. They're like, yeah, here's your per diem.
You didn't get taxed on it back then. Now you get taxed on it. So anyway, but I was going to say about the depth, though. My line that I wanted to say about the depth was more, and I've said it so many times. I think your superstars make you win, and your depth will help you win. And one doesn't go without the other. And I think once you find that recipe and that right mixture of the both, make and help, right, from the stars to the and that's how you win. Obviously, you got to check and all that kind of stuff. We all know that you need goaltending, but I'm saying the superstars will make you win, and I think that's what the Avalanche have always been built on. And then, as we saw last year, and just take Chris's words or Joe's words of the Mikko trade, right? It's like we weren't good enough. We didn't have enough depth to win. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. And when you have that many great players like McKinnon, Makar, Rantanen, then you're allowed to maybe spare one to kind of help you out in that sense. So that's the way I would say it. Make and help. Is the two key words.
I think depth has been such a story for the Avalanche over the last couple of years, and it's been in direct contrast to the team that always eliminates them in Dallas. But what made Dallas so tough was that they had they had Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson. Like, they had these guys that were great players. They just had 3 lines of them.
Yep.
And that was the superpower. Then they go and they get Mikko Rantanen. Well, they've lost that a little bit for a reason. When you're spending $12 million on one guy, well, there goes 3 $4 million guys out the door. Like, you make that choice. And there's a reason that you see teams make these choices, right? Like, there's a reason that Dallas was like, we'll trade Logan Stankoven and first round picks, and we'll have to move guys in the offseason so that we can afford Mikko's raise. Because you don't do anything without those guys, without the superstar level talent. You don't do anything. Look at any of the teams that have won the Stanley Cup. This is why that Blues championship is the anomaly. And even then, you're looking at that roster was really deep, but its defense and its goaltender kind of stole that show. But pretty much all the other champions that you go through in the last, we'll just say the Stanley Cup era, or the Stanley Cup era, the salary cap era, teams that win the Stanley Cups, they've got superstar talent. It starts with them. If you don't have a superstar, you're almost always dead in the water.
Yeah. It's just the facts on that front. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little distracted thinking about NHL teams landing on the Vegas tarmac and people just handing out envelopes of cash in Vegas. I'm surely it was digital by the time Vegas was in the league, but
but
tough
you never know, man.
Yeah, it was kind of digital by then. But anyway, back then it was funny because sometimes you would be out of cash. because the plane ride was tough with the card game. You know what I mean? Then it was gone.
I worked in a couple of press boxes and watched, and I always where I was in the box because PR always wanted to sit me away from all the cool kids. I sat next to all the opposing players. I watched a lot of per diem envelopes get handed out. I haven't been working this that long, so we're talking at least 6-7 years ago when I was really there all the time. It was still happening. So if it's gone all digital, it's relatively recent.
Yeah, it's not the same anymore. The envelope is cool because you're like, all right, I like it.
I remember one particular player for the Carolina Hurricanes being mad at his per diem. He was like, I've got nowhere in this city to spend it. I was like, ow. That's cold.
There's some good food in Carolina. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's jump in here. When looking at depth, I also want to talk about prospect pools, at least in the sense of which teams have prospect pools that are going to significantly impact the NHL roster this year. So it makes sense to just start with Chicago here.
Yeah.
Mechanically, as a hockey team, do they have a lot of quality depth? Probably not, but half their lineup is going to be kids and prospects, right? So for Chicago, this is, let's see this year. Let's see who steps up for them.
Yeah. It's funny too because it's like we kind of have dogged them this whole process.
Yeah.
But then you get into their bottom six and you're like, look, when they're out of it come trade deadline, I'm sorry, but I'm interested. Jason Dickinson, Ilya Mikheyev, Sam Lafferty, those are all guys that I'm like, depending on what you need, these are helpful players in a bottom six. Their bottom six really isn't bad. And if they want to give some ice time, I swear I'm going to go down with the Lucas Reichel ship. I've been there forever.
I'm down. I'm in on that one.
Like,
yeah.
I wanted Lucas. Like, I would take Lucas Reichel over Victor Olofsson today. No problems. No questions asked. Like, that he's going to be in their bottom six. He's going to get opportunity. I don't know. Some of the other kids, I mentioned this yesterday. I really don't know their situation. Like, what's going on with Ryan Green and Oliver Moore and Landon Slaggert. You know, like, they have so many of them that I don't know who all is going to be fighting for those jobs, but they're gonna be a team that I like their depth. I mean, Nick Foligno's not great anymore, but great leadership for them, and like teach them how to be professionals and play the game the right way. Everything that we talked about their defense lacking, they do have it forward.
Yeah, what happens after a while though when you have so many draft picks, and you just obviously I'm familiar with Ryan. I love Ryan Green. I think he's going to play. When is he going to play? I have no idea, but he's going to play. This is what's going to happen. This is where the battle is going to be, is up front with the Blackhawks. And it's like you just said, is it Oliver Moore? Is it him? Is it Slaggert? Is it, and there's going to be a battle. And this is what I tell kids all the time. You're given the opportunity, run with it. Please run with it. I don't want to hear, I only played 9 minutes. Don't worry about it. That's 9 more minutes than Mr. X got. And that might dictate your path and how quick you get to the NHL. And then as a team, I always say that when you have that many draft picks, that many prospects, well, guess what? There's only so many jerseys, right? So then some guys will be used as chips to go get different things. So you want to make sure your stocks, you want to make sure that when you get out there, you perform to the best of your abilities. And you cannot, and when you're again, now this is, if I'm the agent of those young forwards of the Blackhawks, you cannot start thinking or evaluating. Worry about yourself, worry about your game, and don't start analyzing. If you analyze, you'll be out of this league so quick. And this is a prospect of guys, and there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of good people. But I always say, listen, you want to be management, then quit playing and apply for a job, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. So you're a player, go play. And I think this is where they have had a lot of draft picks, and they have some nice players. And yeah, this contract with Nazar or whatever. Yeah, but at the end, he's a good player. I mean, it's just that it's kind of crazy a little bit after 8 games that he got that. But at the end, there's a lot of players like him. There's a lot of good players that are going to organization, not only obviously on D that we talked about yesterday, but up front. right? You know what I mean? So I think they're in good shape, but at this time, it's going to be a battle, right? For the internal battle.
Yeah, it's Chicago is entering the phase of their rebuild where it's time to figure out what you have. You hoarded all these picks, you made all these picks, and now who are the guys that are actually going to play in the NHL for you? I think that's a lot of what this year is about for them. So,
and we talked about it with their defense. That's exactly what they're doing there. We think it's a little bit on the extreme side, but their forward core I think is really balanced, and I like their bottom six just as a breeding ground for the competition. That kind of last man standing mentality that Eric is talking about. That don't worry about your roster math. You go out and you outplay these guys. You'll get a job. You take care of what you take care of, and you do it to the best of your ability. You'll stick. And if you don't do that, then you have nobody else to blame. You just can't throw a fit about this.
Correct. Chicago done, Colorado up next, but we do need to take our second break before we talk about the main team here on the show. So let's make sure we do that. Then we'll get into the Avs with some ice cold Coors Light by your side. Go jump in and get yourself some Coors Light. They're available in pretty much every liquor store in the country. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink anytime you choose chill, whether you're grilling out in the backyard, maybe you're hanging out on the couch watching the game, maybe you're even at Ballerina. Wherever it is, Coors Light is there with you, so you can choose chill. Head to CoorsLight.com/DNVR if you're at home and you don't want to get off the couch. Instacart can deliver them right to your front door. So, if you're lazy like me, choose the lazy way. Don't get up. Get yourself some Coors Light and choose chill. And make sure you make the most out of the times you choose chill by choosing Coors Light. Again, get it at CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Thanks to Instacart, you can get it delivered right to your front door. Or, of course, you can always go check it out at your local liquor store. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. Once you got yourself choosing chill with Coors Light, make sure you also get yourself into a great pair of sunglasses with Shady Rays. Look, Shady Rays, they're great sunglasses. First and foremost, they have hundreds of different styles. You can choose different polarization colors, a bunch of amazing options. But the coolest part to me about Shady Rays is that when you get a pair, for the first 30 days, you break them, you lose them, or you just don't like them, Shady Rays will replace them for free for the first 30 days. You don't have to fret about it. You don't have to worry about them. They got you covered over at Shady Rays. And you can get 35% off any pair of their polarized sunglasses with code DNVR when you check out. So go check out the shades given 300,000 five-star reviews. They're pretty well liked around here over at Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com today. Even if you're a blind person, they do have prescription sunglasses too. So whatever it is, Shady Rays has you covered. Again, be sure to use that DNVR code to get 35% off any pair of polarized sunglasses over at shadyrays.com. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. The Colorado Avalanche, when it comes to depth, I think it's an interesting conversation because there's a couple of angles to look at it. When you look at their NHL roster, when healthy, I think their depth is pretty good. You look at their forward bottom six, sure. Do they need one more center? Maybe. But you're talking about a bottom six of Jack Drury, Ross Colton, Victor Olofsson, Joel Kiviranta, Parker Kelly. That one spot still open. Does Kelly play 4C or whatever? We don't need to get into the minutia of what the lines look like. But you have quality NHLers through most of your lineup with a healthy LOC. Defense, I don't think you should have too much of a problem with their bottom pairing. My thing for the Avs is what happens when the inevitable injury bug hits. Who are these 13th and 14th forwards? Who is, well, we know Keaton Middleton's the 7D, but
yeah,
is that depth enough, or does it feel a little bit thin?
I mean, I keep saying I think one more guy would really help them. Like one more guy, because you can make an argument that you'd like to see what Steinberg, Bardakov, Ivan. What do those guys look like? Are they young guys who can help you? But if those are guys who can help you as your 13th, 14th, 15th forwards, you feel a lot better about that if instead of them being 12, 13, 14. You move them up one more guy. Because if you get 2 injuries, now you're talking about you're playing 2 of those guys. You get 3 injuries, which, like, this is Colorado. Like,
It's coming.
it's not unrealistic, okay? I'm saying, and then you're playing all of them. Like, you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be in that position of trying to play all those guys. So it's why why the Kiviranta deal was so solid, because he gives you one extra layer of protection there of, like, you know what this guy is. This guy's rock solid. I'm all for one more guy. And if they were to find a way to sneak out 2 of them, like they get, I don't have any, like, speculative names, but, like, you can get a couple of guys on PTOs that you give league minimum deals to. They have the opportunity to do that. If they have the cap space right now, if they wanted to do that, and then you have to feel really good about your forward core. You're feeling like, hey, this is so much better. I don't think they'll do that, because I know they want to accrue, and the more space you leave, the more space you have at the deadline. So, you know, they would like the opportunity for salary cap accrual, but I think it's a really good group. Like, it's a really well-rounded, like, solid, varied group that does a little bit of everything. The one thing that you're probably missing a center, and that's the
Yeah.
Bardakov dream, but that's really, like, the one thing that you're saying you need this.
I'm gonna say that's why last year after the trade deadline, I was so in awe of what the Avs did, because we saw it the other day. Charlie Coyle, that he had a tough time in Colorado. I'm not here to argue, disagree, agree. I love Charlie Coyle. I'll take him on my team any day, and I knew that 31 other teams would, and they did. With that said, that's a big hole from the playoff lineup. Charlie Coyle is a luxury. You know what I mean? Like, that was a luxury for the Avs. So now it shifts down to, I agree with you, maybe one more. But what I'm going to say is maybe that one more becomes, and I'm his agent since last week. You guys know that, fictional agent, Jack Drury. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden he takes a step, and I believe in that. I think he would, and I think he will. And my dark horse, it's not a dark horse, but I do believe they need that in their lineup, because I do believe he's the best that the Avs have to play 6 minutes a night. It's Matt Steinberg. For me, it's a no-brainer. Has to play the season there. He brings you that element. He brings you that physicality. He brings you that, and especially if the PK comes through that he was trying to do last year before he got suspended. If that comes through, you're going to see this guy more and more in the lineup. Especially if Middleton's the 7th, right? You know what I mean? And he's not in the lineup. You're going to see Matt Steinberg in the lineup. You will. I'm his agent. I'm his agent.
I think that the Drury at 3C is inevitable for the start of the year, barring the Avs making, like, a meaningful NHL trade, which I'm still open to. It's just we're getting close, right? So I think that is fine, but you're gonna have a big battle at 4C here for, Bardakov, Steinberg, Kelly. Do they bring in a Glendening type of guy? Which, but it's another guy like that. I think that they've got the skills there.
The conversation, I think, there's 2 things here, really. Number one, and this is true of pretty much every team, not just the Avalanche. If you leave space for guys, it is not hard to find depth guys at the trade deadline later in the year. If you're a team like the Avs that feel like you're good enough to get through the regular season as is, you can afford to wait a little bit, and then you get to the deadline, and whichever team is out of it, you go get their 3C and whatever. Fine. Not that hard to wait on filling out some of those depth holes. But for the Avs, it's interesting because their 2 best prospects aren't going to play in the NHL this year, barring something absolutely crazy with Nabokov.
But he might.
he might get like a game at the end of the season, right? Not going to play meaningful minutes. How about that?
You're right.
So when you look at it, they do have room for a guy like a Steinberg, for a guy like an Ivan, for a guy like a Bardakov, whoever earns the job, it's fine. But the question is, can they afford one of those players, or rather, can one of those prospects, whatever you want to call a prospect, can they earn a full-time job doing it? I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I think that skepticism is fair. And I think that it's an important thing that you say, if Jack Drury can be your 3C, if he proves it in the first 50 games, you're not shopping for that at the deadline. You're like, hey, we've got a 3C. We're completely comfortable with Jack Drury. It's so much easier to go and find a 4C. To trade, to trade a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, whatever. You're not trying to trade first, 2nd round picks for that. Like, it's so much easier to be like, okay, here's a bottom feeder off of the team. And you look at, honestly, we're talking about Chicago's depth. You look at like Jason Dickinson, you pull that guy off of their bottom 6 and you put him into your bottom 6, onto your 4th line, 3rd line, kind of make him a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife for you. That's a really valuable guy. Like, that's
how many times
that's
has Vlad Nemestikov been traded for a 4th round pick? Like,
right, like Vlad Nemestikov is another like wonderful example of this, of a guy that just kind of like fills in wherever you need him in your lineup. And it's so much easier to get that kind of guy than being like, we need a center. If Jack Drury can do the 3C job for you, really do it. Yeah, you love the Kelly Drury LOC line. They rocked. You love that. But if he's an actual 3C for you, and I'm saying he's still good defensively. He's good on the PK. He wins faceoffs, and he gives you 35-ish, we'll say 35-ish, give or take some in either direction.
If he's a real
35-ish, yeah, 35-ish points, then your job at the deadline is so much easier, and that's what you have the first 50 games to figure out.
Yep. It's the luxury that the Avs have with that high end. Understanding what you need is one thing, but you have to pick the right time to act on it as well. Give opportunities for some guys to earn some jobs, and if they don't, you can always go make a trade later up until the trade deadline. I think this is somewhat true of Dallas as well, as we can move on, but Dallas is in an interesting spot. Obviously, the Avs lost some pieces over the offseason, but they also gained some things with Landeskog. They kept the Brock Nelson. They kept the Kiviranta ultimately. As opposed to Dallas, which lost a significant amount of pieces, at least in their forward core, that it feels like they didn't fully replace. So what do you guys make of Dallas's depth this year? It's definitely not as good as it was last year, but is it still very strong?
It's okay. Like, it's got NHLers on it, right? You're not like, oh man, I don't think these guys can play at all. But you look at like an Oscar Beck, he had 16 points in 73 games last year. Like, that's not very good. Radek Faksa, I talked about this the other day. He had 5 goals in 70 games, 15-point player. He's really good at what he does. It's a very narrow path for Radek Faksa, but he's good at what he does. Fine. Colin Blackwell, I mean, obviously like haunted us with the 1 overtime winner, but like he's a solid depth guy that fits in. But sorry about that. The real question for me is Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene, Wyatt Johnston. 3 guys very capable of playing center. If one of those guys drops down to the 3rd line to play 3rd line center, you feel great about their depth. If they don't, and they stack their top 6 with their 6 best forwards, and they move Jamie Benn out of there, Jamie Benn is on the 3rd line, Maverick Bourque is on the 3rd line, Sam Steele, you feel way less good about it. You're talking about going from having 40-point Mason Marchment, 40-point Jamie Benn, 40-point Evgeny Dadonov, to having no guys last year, except Ben, who had 49 points, and then a nightmarish hellscape of a postseason where he looked completely done. Like, it's basically Maverick Bourque has to be the truth. Huge pressure on Maverick Bourque to take the big step forward and prove himself to be legit. If he does that, they're going to be fine. If he does not do that, this bottom 6 is like middle of the road. Like, are you excited about any of these guys? I'm not. A lot of them feel hard capped as who they are already, with the possibility that Ben is smashing into the wall and could completely fall off a cliff.
Well said. You know what I mean? But I do like is God. I hate saying that because they're NHL players, but like bottom of the barrel guys like Colin Blackwell. I love that. That's a guy I've been after for years, and you know what I mean. Like for a minimal contract, he will give you everything he has.
Yeah.
Obviously, is it Bastion that's there this year now, right? Joining them, right? So guys like that. So I think they're fine there. But you're right. It's a little bit, the Ross Coltonish guys on the, what I mean. That's where I think the Avs have it. Where I don't see these guys, right? You know what I mean? And you're right, Maverick Bork. Now it's pressure. You know what I mean? And I agree with what you said. I agree with Cujo, Saint, and Chet there. It's pressure because you only have yourself to. Can't end up cracking that lineup on a regular basis. You only have yourself to blame. The path is there for you. What's his name? Stankoven's gone, and you know what I mean. So the path is clear. You got to jump on it and take it.
Yeah, in some ways similar to the Avs when it comes to their pool of prospects. Most of the high end ones have already graduated to the NHL for them. They have Hemming, but I don't think he'll be ready for the NHL this year, really. It's a little bit thin for them on that side. So they do need to rely on the Colin Blackwells, some veteran NHL guys as part of their bottom six to perform up to their ability. And Dallas, unlike Colorado, is cap strapped.
Mm-hmm. And Dodonov's going to hurt. He played good for them. You know what I mean? Dodonov's going to hurt. The Daddy Meister, whatever his name is. But he's going to
said it yesterday. Marchment does too. Like, that was such a culture guy for them. Marchment and Dodonov both, like, those are guys that they flat out have not replaced those guys. And when you compare them 1-to-1 against Colorado, Ross Colton, Victor Olofsson, those guys, on paper, you're going, come on, they had 29 points each last year. Yeah, in 60 games.
Yep.
Those guys stay healthy. They're right where you want them to be. Right where you want them to be. And I don't see as much of that in Dallas this year. The only way to rectify that, in my opinion, is to stagger that. You don't stack your top six. You put Wyatt Johnston, Matt Duchene, Tyler Seguin. I don't really care which, but you stagger them. Wyatt Johnston, Maverick Bork on your third line. You feel way better about that depth. But you're sacrificing. Okay, what are you going to do on your second? Now Jamie Benn is in your top six.
You still don't feel as good as if it was Marchment and Dodonov on his wings.
Yeah, of course. Because the pressure is still on Maverick Bork to be legit. He's got to do it. Can he play a checking role like that? Can he be successful? So, there is way more pressure on that Dallas top six than there has been in a long time. And we talked about this yesterday. I'm a huge, Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen as a top line. Girl, that is nasty. That is such an unbelievably good top line. Their second line has the same, very similar questions as to what Colorado does with Landeskog and Nelson and the aging questions. Matt Duchene's 34 years old. He's coming off a point per game season. Is that going to happen again? Because if he goes from an 82-point player to a 60-point player, still a good player, still productive, that is not the same level. That is not the same level of danger. That is not the same business that they've been getting. So there's a lot of pressure on that top six. Previous years, they did not have that.
All right. Let's move on to Minnesota. Their depth is interesting. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the coming out of the Parise Suter buyouts. Honestly, I don't hate their NHL depth. They've got a good mix of veteran guys, Marcus Foligno, Ryan Hartman, Trennan, Nico Sturm. And then they have some young guys who, how does their lineup shake out? But Ogren and Yurov trying to carve out their spots in the roster. I don't hate it. It's not like, do I think it's championship caliber depth? No, but they're going to ice a forward group that feels like NHLers top to bottom.
I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of those guys score goals. They can score goals. Sure. They play hard games. They play heavy games. It fits their style. It really fits in very nicely with who they identify as a club. and it complements their top six wonderfully. And we've seen a handful of these guys have played up in their lineups in their careers, and that's, I don't know exactly what their top six will shake out to be. Is it going to be Tarasenko? Is it going to be Johansson? Like, whichever of those guys it ends up being, whoever loses out is going to be a good addition to that bottom six. And as you mentioned, Liam Ogren is a nasty shooter. That guy can fire a puck. If he starts to hit and come along, that's a problem. They do have Abe Kubel though as like as sort of like a
Insurance
Kiviranta for
policy,
them. Like you're getting that guy to just give you a baseline there in case other guys are not living up to the expectations. It's a good group for me. I think that's a rock solid group, typical of Minnesota. Billy Guerin did a great job, in my opinion, building out that top six. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be hard to deal with, and they can add a little bit of punch to you, to a lineup.
Yeah, again, I think you said the key word for me is Billy Guerin. I've said that for years now. And again, I'm not even friends with Billy. I'm not. Like, I just respect him. I like the way he plays. I like the way he manages. And I do believe that they have that fight in them. You know what I mean? They have that belief. So, I don't know. Well, we'll have to wait and see how it's going to be. But it's, I agree with you. There's some depth there. There's some fights that are going to happen in training camp, like in Chicago, and who's going to take what. Internal fights. I mean, not fist fights, but just like where you are in the lineup fights. You know what I mean? So, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's a good battle there, Minnesota.
It's a good club.
Maybe
like a rock solid group.
Maybe more interesting questions on the defensive side when it comes to, does Zeev show up and can play NHL hockey, or are you playing Zach Bogosian on your bottom pairing?
Yeah, I mean, the depth on their defense is a much bigger question mark. It's very dependent on Jiricek and Buyam. How are they gonna grow up? Do they grow up quickly enough to take those jobs, or or do they sign Jack Johnson? You playing Jack Johnson, Zach Bogosian on your third pairing, which is a nightmare.
Yeah. So their prospects, interesting stuff. If you want to call Jiricek a prospect still, which I think is somewhat fair, and Zeev certainly is. Yeah. So could be leaning on those guys to be a significant difference makers in Minnesota when it comes to what their D-core ultimately ends up looking like. A team that probably lacks the high end a little bit outside of Kaprizov, who's obviously amazing, but who's his running mate that's really another star. They're hoping it's Rossi, but we'll see.
Boldy.
Yeah, Boldy's fair. All right.
Biased.
Yeah, you are. With Boldy, you're definitely biased. Nashville. Is there any hope for anything in Nashville this year?
This group sucks, brother.
Yeah, their depth is bad, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, I look at it and I'm like, is there even a guy there that I would be interested in for the Avs at the deadline? Like, outside of the kids who they shouldn't be dealing away. Like, I'm assuming that like Zach LaRue and Kemmel are not going to be guys that go anywhere, right? But
I mean,
like,
I'm interested in their 1C to be depth.
Yeah, right. Like, that's how bad that roster is. You're looking at their 1C going, can we put him on the third line? Yeah. It really, like, Michael Bunting. I'd love Michael Bunting.
Sure.
He's crazy, solid, like, plays with talent. Like, I'm all about Michael Bunting, right? Eric Howla, I would have as my 4C. I've always really liked his game. I think he'd be a great fit in Colorado. Outside of that, no. I think the rest of this sucks. Like, Michael McCarron is big. I don't think he'd be in the NHL otherwise.
Yeah.
They're
just not.
And a lot of this is, it's kind of like with Chicago. A lot of kids fighting for jobs, and they're going to sort it out as the year goes on. Could get a lot better. Some of these guys, I expect some of these guys will solidify jobs and be like, hey, this guy's actually pretty solid. But at the moment, I don't know. Right now, what they actually have on paper, because of the uncertainty of the children of their youth,
yeah,
I think that's pretty bad. I would have it right now as the worst in the Central Division.
It's funny because they took so many years to develop, for example, Tolvanen, right? And then he's there and he's playing as an underage in Milwaukee, and then he doesn't play. Next thing you know, he goes on waivers, they lose him, and then the guy kind of starts scoring. It's kind of like, where's that fine line? They missed that fine line there with someone that they, drafted, developed, and missed out.
Did the same thing with
So,
Fabro.
yeah, exactly. So now all of a sudden, then it's showing a little bit on their depth, right? So those are first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with
Big
AJ
time.
on this one. I think they're the worst in the Central when it comes to depth options. And obviously, you never know. Maybe Svechkov decides he's the boss this year and absolutely pops off, and it goes a long way for adding to their quality of their lineup. But
I think that guy's going to be in their top 6.
yeah, I agree. But they need some kids to really go hard this year to be competitive in their depth. I'll put it to you that way. St. Louis next up. Before we talk about them, of course, we are doing a fundraiser all month long for September for Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. You can donate. There's a thing on the sidebar of the video if you're watching on YouTube. Obviously, it's a great cause. You gotta take care of the kids in your area, wherever you might be. Big Brothers Big Sisters does a great job of that. If you want to do more than just donate, you can also sign up to be a big for some kids on the website. So that's a great way to pitch in too. But yeah, they need the donations. Go hit them up. It's a great partnership for us. We're super excited because, turns out sports is more than just a little event. It creates communities, and kids are the lifeblood of communities. So make sure you're taking care of people. Go donate at the link over to the side. Should be on the sidebar of the video. It might not top up on the sidebar until this becomes a VOD, though. It might not be there during the live because the chat's there. I'm not 100% sure. But if you can't find it on the sidebar, there's a link down in the description of the video where you can go donate. So jump in, support them. It's good stuff. All right. St. Louis. They're a hockey team.
It's good. It's a good group. I think offensively it's a little bit of a limited group right now, but I'm curious to see how Pius Suter is able to do as their 3C fitting in. I was pretty down on him in free agency. So I'm not going to suddenly turn around and be like, well, Pius Suter rocks. Like, I'm not about it. Nick Bjugstad, I think, has been a lot more reputation over reality for a few years now. But like is a solid bottom 6 player. It's just if he's one of your best bottom 6 players, as is the case right now in St. Louis, I'm worried about it. I don't know which of their young guys ends up there. Is it going to be like Neighbors? Is it going to be Snuggerud? Is it going to be Holloway? Like I'm not sure. Yeah. And they have a handful of forward prospects that I think are going to fight for jobs, that are going to push the Toropchenko, Sundqvist, Nathan Walker types. It's a solid group. And that's just I don't think there's a lot of upside right there.
Hard ceilings,
but
yeah.
It's a good, like, reliable group. I kind of view it similar to the Avs, where there's not a huge upside here, but it's a lot of NHLers. It's a lot of guys you don't have very many question marks about. And that's a great that's a great way to build a bottom 6.
As long as they don't sign Lucic.
Do it. Get worse.
You're muted, E. You're muted.
I mute myself. I still like Sundqvist. You talking about 2019. That was a big part. You're talking about depth in 2019. I still like that guy. I still do. He's ugly though, kind of like Kyle Connor. Like the hair, the whatever. He looks Slavish. And when I say ugly, I'm not saying his face. I'm saying but he plays ugly, but he's effective. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like him still. I still do.
I've always liked Sundqvist too. His analytics are terrible. I like watching him play.
Oh, I love it.
We'll see. Yeah, this is personal preference thing. I much prefer playing guys that have the higher ceiling, especially when it comes to prospects in your depth. I would love to see opportunity for those type of guys, but yeah, we've had the conversation on the show a million times. NHL head coach is going to want the guy that gives you consistency night in, night out, not necessarily the highest ceiling when it comes to your depth. So
they've got extra forwards there in Matthew Joseph and Alexander Texier that both guys I've loved at various points in their careers.
Yep.
So they've really built kind of a Thunderdome of these are your last chances to really prove this. This is second, third stops for these guys. They've got to really get this thing going if they're gonna continue NHL careers. And that competition, a lot of times, it's gonna bring out the best in a lot of guys.
Yep.
So I think St. Louis is in a good place.
Added into overtime. Continue the conversation online on the DNVR.com. Utah. Here's the thing about Utah. And this is the conversation E has about slotting guys correctly, right? Utah's depth got better because they got guys towards the top of their lineup to help fill out spots. Getting a JJ Peterka to play on your top line means, okay, great. Now you don't have to play Nick Schmaltz on your top line anymore. And that moves the guy down to the third line and all the way down the lineup. It helps them, at least on the forward side. On the defensive side, they did lose Kesselring, which,
hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're in kind of a strange spot. Like Kerfoot is who he is at this point, like solid. Yeah. Lawson Krause had a terrible year, just a terrible year. Liam O'Brien, I don't think should be in the NHL. Kevin Stenlund is like a hard 4C. Brandon Tanev has been on a steep decline for like 4 years. Yeah. I think Brandon Tanev's like done. I think he's washed. So not buying much there. I like Jack McBain though. That's a good player. Good bottom six player for you. Plays a heavy game, has some skill. Like Jack McBain quite a bit. But there's not a lot to like there. I like Michael Carcone, who they brought back, who also had an awful season for them. I like his game. I think there's a little bit of upside there. And another team, you're looking into their system and you're saying, hey, Kyler Yamamoto's a guy that you could have an interesting conversation about that guy. He's this big, which makes him a strange fit in Utah. But interesting. That big Russian kid that they just brought over, that was first round pick of theirs, Daniil Boop.
Yeah. They have Boop, they have Tijagin down there. Their prospect pool really still has a good number of pieces in it.
Yeah, they've got some guys. I wonder if Iginla pushes for a roster spot because that bottom six isn't great. So they're gonna be. I think next year I like the possibility of some youth breaking into the bottom half of that lineup a lot better than right now. But for right now, the bottom six, it's okay. Yep. It's one of the things I think that holds them back from me fully buying into them as a playoff team. Contender, sure, but not necessarily going all in on this is a playoff team, definitely.
We shall see.
Okay. And then last but not least, as we're winding down here, Winnipeg. I would say kind of similar to what we talked about with Dallas. They lose Nick Ehlers. They don't really effectively replace him with their depth options. Maybe for Winnipeg, it really comes down to how much do you believe in Jonathan Toews to slot in and be able to hold his own on the second line. If he can do well, maybe they're all right with depth. If he struggles, Winnipeg's in trouble.
I like some of their young guys. I've always been a big Brad Lambert guy. I think Nikita Chibrikov is interesting. I'm curious what kind of steps forward Braden Yeager and Colby Barlow have made, and if they're able to push for some of those jobs. Because I have followed Nemesnikov, Nyquist. Like again, these are NHLers. They're fine. They're not high end. They're not bottom of the barrel. These are fine.
Nobody
Adam Lowry really
station.
helps them. Adam Lowry, when he comes back, is a big, big, big part of this. But if Taves sucks and can't play, then Adam Lowry might be their 2C, or Nemestikov goes back to being their 2C. None of these are good options. None of these are good options is the problem here. It's really that their second line would be a third line. It should be a third line. And their third line is a fine third line, but their fourth line, like, I've never been a big Tanner Pearson guy, so he doesn't really do it for me. I like Morgan Barron a lot. He's disruptive. He makes a presence known in the game. Fine. Cole Koepke missed me with that. Like, I just, not for me. He's not my guy.
Just conceptually, it's really hard to have good depth when you don't have a good top six, because your good depth is just going to end up moving up the lineup then.
Yeah. Again, we talk about this with Colorado, but you get an injury or two in your top six, you're in deep, deep trouble.
Then everybody gets slotted wrong, and it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It becomes a problem at that point.
At least Winnipeg has some like legit prospects, and Chibrikov and Lambert have at least been playing in North America, in the AHL. Obviously, that's North America.
Yeah.
But like some of these other guys are just turning pro, and you don't really know what they're going to do. They have the ability, though. There's a handful of these guys, though, that could sneak onto that roster and really raise that floor quite a bit.
Yeah. I just think they have a long way to go with that forward core. I think they're asking for somebody to play a lot better than expectation, but
I think Winnipeg is the best example in this division of what you talked about earlier, that if your top six isn't aces, then your bottom six almost doesn't matter.
Sure.
Because they are I think their bottom six is solid. It's fine. It's role appropriate.
So what if your top line gets dunked every night?
and your second line is a third line. Like, it's just not going to matter.
Yep.
They aren't going to be difference makers for you. They don't tie your lineup together. It's just more of the same. It's not good enough for a team that won the division last year to look at their bottom six and go, well, it'll keep them from bottoming out. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a contention. It's hanging on for dear life. Anyway, we are wrapping up today's show. We've already gone overtime, so we do have to wrap things up. But we hope you all enjoyed the conversation. If you're crazy and want to see what options the Avs might still have for free agent options at depth, AJ has a piece out there. Consider becoming a diehard. Go read that and see what they can still do when it comes to the UFAs out there. We are out of here for today, though. Tomorrow, mailbag show. I'm going to put up a tweet from the DNVR account here shortly. Give us your questions. We'll answer whatever. You can ask anything you want, as long as it's not like horrible. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can.
If you have questions about The Summer I Turned Pretty, I'm caught up. We caught up last night. I'm ready to go.
Everyone broke up or something. I don't know. I don't watch that show.
Go.
We are out of here. We appreciate y'all. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we will see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.